The VW microbus. While it influenced the minibuses of other German manufacturers, it also was the basis of a Soviet minibus that had so many varieties, it became the most widely manufactured and versatile Soviet minibus of the 1960s. This is the story of the RAF 977, the minibus that had at least 16 mini flavors. Hi, this is Jeffrey. Now, back in the 1950s, the Soviet Union was looking to develop their own minibus, as they needed a vehicle that was between the size of a taxi and a full-sized bus. In order to do this, they imported a VW microbus for ideas. And the result was probably one of the most varied minibuses of all time. It's a really interesting story, so let's get started in learning about the RAF 977 Soviet minibus. In 1949, the Russian factory for coach bodies, also known as RZAK, was set up on the premises of the former Car Repair Workshop No. 2 in Riga, now Latvia. In 1955, the factory was renamed the Rigas Autobusu Fabrika, otherwise known as RAF. Just like many other similar plants, RZAK or RAF started its life building GAZ-51 based buses. But by the mid-1950s, the Soviet Union was moving rapidly ahead with the production of trucks and full-sized buses, such as the ZIS-155 American-Inspired transit bus. But the Ministry of Soviet Automotive Industry, also known as Minovtoprom, realized that a smaller passenger vehicle was also needed. Bigger than a traditional taxi, but smaller than a bus. Also, there was a high demand for ambulances. Normal cars that were converted for such purposes were inadequate. To solve this, a four-wheel drive military-oriented minibus was to be developed by UAZ, while development of a two-wheel drive civilian vehicle was assigned to the RAF plant. Reportedly, a Volkswagen Type 2 was imported for so-called inspiration. Early RAF minivans, specifically the small-scale production RAF-8 and RAF-10 models, were based on the Moscovich and Probita cars, respectively. The first test batch of RAF-10s was made for use at the 1957 Moscow Youth Festival, and the vehicle was provisionally named the Festival. But in 1958, the first order of what would be called the 977 was tendered for 10 minibuses. And, according to Alexei Lubinskaya, an automotive engineer at the RAF plant, on the concept of the new vehicle.
Externally, the new minibus will be identical to the RAF-10, which was inspired by the Volkswagen Type 2. But mechanically, it will be promptly redesigned to accommodate components from the newly announced GAZ M21 Volga, including a low compression version of its 2,445cc engine.
And so, serial production of this new RAF 977 based on the RAF 10 was launched in 1959, introducing this new bus to the Soviet market. However, in May of 1960, the RAF plant quickly switched to the production of a modernized version of the 977 model, the RAF 977V Latvia minibus. This model had a redesigned body base. The floor was made flat along the entire length of the passenger compartment, and to make it easier for passengers to enter and exit, the service door opening was lowered, with a step added. Additional rigidity was incorporated into the body, the width of the doors were reduced, and the rear lights were changed. Production of the 977V model ceased in 1962. The total number of original RAF 977 and RAF 977V minibuses manufactured was 1,297 units. Now, let's take a look at some of the basic specifications of the RAF 977 minibus. Number 1, length is 4.9 meters. Number 2, width is 1.81 meters. Number 3, height is 2.05 meters. Number 4, weight is 1,720 kilograms with a permissible total weight of 2,550 kilograms. Number 5, passenger capacity is usually 9 or 10 passengers, depending upon configuration. Number 6, engine is the GAZ 21A of 70 horsepower, as found in the GAZ M21 Volga automobile. And finally, number 7, top speed is 110 kilometers per hour. Lack of a true assembly line prevented rail mass production, but there was still a steady stream of minibuses coming out of the Riga plant. The updated RAF 977D arrived in 1961 with a redesigned front end. This version remained in production until 1968. And its sister, the 977E, was specifically for tourists. In 1962, RAF tried to set up assembly of the 977D at the car assembly plant in Lugansk in the Ukrainian SSR. Only about 30 buses were produced, but exhibited a bit of unique styling. In 1967, the RAF 977D became the RAF 977DM with slight changes in both exterior and interior styling, most notably the larger side windows. In 1970, production of the GAZ 21 Volga came to an end, which sealed the fate of the RAF 977. The RAF 977 was exported to various countries such as Bulgaria, Hungary, Cuba, Iran, Nigeria, Finland, and Chile. A full-color dual Russian-German language brochure was produced, but it's unclear if the 977 was ever exported to East Germany. Overall, there were no less than 16 variants of the 977 with tourist, tram and trailer, and ambulance versions being built. Production of the 977 ceased in 1976. However, this was not the end of the line for the model, as it survived in a slightly modified form as the Yeraz 762, built by the Yerevan automobile plant until 1996. The Riga factory went on to build the 977's successor, the highly successful RAF 2203. After the fall of the Iron Curtain, the newly independent Latvia couldn't sustain the RAF plant, and it went bankrupt in 1998. And so ended a prolific VW-inspired Soviet-era minibus, as well as its manufacturer. But its mark on the history of smaller-sized buses will certainly live on. And so there it is, the story of the VW-inspired RAF 977 Soviet minibus, the bus of incredible variety. Now, unfortunately, it was impossible to find a photo of every single version of this bus ever produced, especially the export models, and it was also difficult to find photos of the road train version, but at least I did manage to find a few. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the RAF 977 Soviet minibus. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.